All right. Ready, George?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, I call to order this regularly scheduled meeting of the 34th City Council for January 9th, 2024 at 7 p.m. Everyone in attendance, can you, kind reminder to please silence your phone or communications devices to not disturb the meeting. Mr. Clerk, can you please call the roll?
Yes, Councilmember Enos.
Here.
Councilmember Hamud.
Here.
Councilmember Abraham.
Here.
Councilmember Paris.
Here.
Councilmember El Sawafi.
Here.
Councilmember Herrick. Council President Sereni.
Here.
We have a quorum.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Clerk. And at this time, I'd like to introduce, it's my pleasure to introduce Reverend Stephen Perrine from Good Shepherd United Methodist Church, who will give tonight's invocation. Everyone that can stand, please stand and remain standing after for our pledge of allegiance. Thank you.
Very pleased to be here too.
Thank you.
Would you bow with prayer with me for prayer? God of all grace and goodness, our hearts are restless until we find our rest in you. We come humbly to ask your blessing on our mayor and city council members. We pray that you would give these elected officials wisdom and guidance as they carry out the duties and responsibilities to which they have been entrusted. We pray that they may act with great care and consideration for all the people who make up this great city of Dearborn, Michigan. We pray for all the civil servants who help them in their daily operation. Especially we pray for the police, fire, and other first responders whose calling may place them in difficult and sometimes dangerous situations. Surround them with your protection. As we pray for peace and harmony for this city, so also we pray for peace and an end to suffering for so many caught in the cycle of war, hatred, bloodshed. We ask all these things in your most holy name. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Father. All right, Mr. Clerk, the first item will be the public comments, correct?
That is correct.
All right, during our new council rules, the council has allowed for public comment 30 minutes prior to the regular agenda. Each resident may fill out a comment card, which is located on either side, or come forward and state your name and address for a record to be recognized. Kind reminder that each resident has a 3-minute time limit that will be kept by the clerk with a 30-second warning when that time comes. So, anybody here to address the council on city business? Did we have any cards?
I did not
Mr.
see any
Clark, no?
cards. No.
Oh, yep, step forward. Yep, and just state your name and address for the record. Thank you.
Sure. Hoda Berry, and I am a resident of East Dearborn.
Okay.
Thank you. I'm here before you today as a lifetime resident of the beautiful city of Dearborn and as a small business food truck owner. I understand and respect the stance and changes that the city proposes to make regarding food truck ordinances to make our city safer, cleaner, and more appealing for outside visitors. I also have mutual respect and understanding as to how challenging these decisions and changes might be as not only the city faces, but as food truck business owners. The same way that these changes will have an impact on our city, good or bad, they too will have major effects in how we operate, directly impacting our small family business. While I do agree that some of these changes should take immediate effect, such as reducing the noise nuisance, the impediment of access to an entrance, trash and debris collection, waste disposal, and directing the exhaust away from the service side of the vehicle, I do ask you to reconsider in waiting to vote on the licensing process. This is just as important and goes hand in hand with the zoning ordinance changes that are being considered and discussed amongst this body. It doesn't make sense to issue licenses to food vendors and discuss the applicability of licensing when we truly do not even know where we will be allowed to operate and how it'll financially affect our business. I plead with you today, as we all wear multiple hats this evening, some of us before me being lawyers, engineers, military personnel, business owners, and knowing what it's like to be a provider to your family, to please allow these discussions to take place with these private sectors of food truck owners within our city, especially the ones who are following the current ordinances and laws of the city and who come to these meetings. I plead with you to allow us the opportunity to teach each other how we can benefit from these changes, but more importantly, how these changes will affect us. I ask you to invite us to these discussions so we can help each other write the most efficient license and zoning ordinances for not only our beautiful Dearborn, but also for the hardworking residents of this city who have put their faith in Dearborn and invested their businesses, such as myself and the lovely food truck vendors in this room today.
You have 30 seconds.
I promise you, just as you have something great to offer with these changes, so do we. Again, I ask you to table the vote on the licensing ordinance and allow us to have collective discussions and give each other the opportunity to enhance them together. I'm asking you to give us the opportunity to continue to gain the faith and confidence of the body before me by hearing us out and allowing us to be part of the solution. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, this item is also on the agenda, so it will be discussed again, Mrs. Beery, on item number 15. So you're more than welcome to come up again. Is anyone here who would like to address the council on city business that is not on the current agenda? Sir, yes, step forward and state your name and address for the record.
James Lorraine, I live in Oxford, west of Telegraph.
Yes, sir.
I bring up the issue of Camp Dearborn. Last year, we had a $300 rent increase. This year is a $500 increase. And the payment is wanted 3 months earlier than what we've been accustomed to. Usually we have to pay by May 15th. Now they want it February 15th. So I speak not just for myself, but for my fellow TV tours, trailer and mobile home owners. If something can be, there again, why a $500 rent increase with no explanation as to why? Thank you.
Right. Mayor, would you like to address that? I know we did speak on this, so if you'd like to address it.
Yeah, of course. Thank you so much for being here. As it pertains to the rent increases, we're trying to modernize Camp Dearborn, and a portion of this is Camp Dearborn has been in the red for quite the many years. And we recently secured a $2 million grant. We're beginning to make investments back at Camp Dearborn. We've had master planning sessions happening at Camp Dearborn as well as at the city of Dearborn. We have a Camp Dearborn advisory group that's been put together and bringing forth very robust recommendations. And the price point that we have, I think it'll be roughly $2,000 per year now for Dearborn residents, is still significantly cheaper than just about any other campground across the whole region. And I have various price points that I can offer to council. Sun Outdoors is about $27.30. Taylor's Beach is $22.50 plus $250 for electrical charge plus $300 for winter storage. Greenwood Acres charges $2,700. Holiday RV Campground charges $2,400. Clean Water Camping charges $5,100. Walnut Hills charges between $3,000 to $5,000. Sandy Pines charges $5,000 plus 400 feet for electrical. And so for us, being positioned at $2,000 still puts us at well below the average across the market price, allowing us to generate more revenue to reinvest back in Camp Dearborn. You know, we kind of have this chicken and egg game. People want to see investments happen at camp. You need revenue to make investments happen. They want to see the investments happen first before they see rate increases. We need some rate increases to happen in order for us to make the investments. And so we secured a $2 million grant demonstrating good faith that we are committed to Camp Dearborn. And the portion of the rent increase will go back to try to bring Camp Dearborn into the black, meaning it's no longer being subsidized by taxpayer dollars and rather hopefully being funded wholly by those who are visiting Camp Dearborn and experiencing Camp Dearborn, so we can reinvest those dollars back into Camp Dearborn. That's largely the reason that we had the fees go up, and we're trying to communicate it. As to why the early payments, we have many of folk who don't pay well into the camping season and well after. And you kind of have no late fees, no nothing. There's actually no consequence for having paid several months late, several years late. And what we want to stop getting in the habit of is kind of just, shying away. People will sometimes be several years behind paying on their camp and then just give up their trailer at that point. At that point, you've not only assumed the cost of demolition for the trailer as a municipality, you've also assumed the loss for the several years that they did not pay. And so we're trying to say, if I go camping in West Virginia, I do primitive camping out there, I book a year in advance. I pay a year in advance to go out there. A lot of campsites require the payment prior to you actually beginning the camp season. And so that's all we're trying to do is just trying to modernize it to make sure that we're whole on our receivables and invoices so we can reinvest back in camp. I grew up at camp. We are committed to camp. And so we're just trying to make sure that our I's are dotted, our T's are crossed to really make camp whole again. It's a long-winded explanation, forgive me. We're just trying to give you the thought process. And we've been working with the advisory group to make sure that we have these conversations. And we've been having master plan sessions with camp goers, talking about what the visions and expectations are for camp to come. So.
Thank you, Mayor. And just to piggyback on that, sir, I'm sorry, ma'am. You have to wait your turn, and you would come up, we'll address you, we'll let you address just 1 minute, okay? Well, I'll have you come forward and answer your question. Sir, just so you know as well, I did meet with the mayor regarding this, and I was very surprised as far as, not so much as the rates, because as he gave you the comparables, they're exhaustive, and we are still at the lowest one. But my concern was that there was no penalty for paying late, and I was very used to seeing people call on their way up to pay. And it was a situation that did a lot of cash flow damage and didn't allow reinvestment. So I was in full support with the mayor as far as early payment and a consistent payment and a very stringent schedule on if you're not paying on time. I'm not saying you're not, but we contributed to that. I want to be honest with you, as a city, by allowing no late fees and letting them pay basically whenever they wanted until they got 2 or 3 years behind, which was a big mistake. So I just want to make sure you knew that. I supported that 100%, that we have to have a payment deadline. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And I know there's a payment plan option that we offer, as well as a reduction of $100 in fees for those that pay early. And so we were really trying to accommodate, and then we communicated it clearly in the letter that went around to TV2 goers about what the new payment fees are, what the late fees are, and what the payment schedule could be like.
Right. Yes,
Well,
sir.
I know a year ago, the city got a $2 million grant. Out of that grant, $120,000 for the demolition of delinquent trailers and mobile homes. Now, with this rent increase, a lot of people just want to wash their hands at camp. But in our lease agreement, it says, if you just want to do that, you still have to pay for the demolition of your trailer or mobile home. Whereas like last year, I heard 6 or 7 people just handed their titles over to camp, and it was put on the demolition list.
Right.
So-
Mayor, do we have I know that was the case as well. Did we have a
There
steadfast
are some
policy?
folks that just abandon the trailer, turn the keys over, and walk away.
And we
And we
the
can
question
spend,
is, are we going after them for a deficiency balance?
we do try to go after those for a balance if there's a balance left over.
Yeah, so, I'd hate to say it, but I know it's on a case-to-case basis. There's some people where it's not in deficiency. And Mayor, and I know that before your tender, the council had taken up and did demolition and did not charge the residents for the demolitions to do the clearing. So I guess we'll have to see that on a case-to-case basis to see, until there's a more formal, strict policy. But we first got to get people to pay on time and get the money reinvested in there. So hopefully you'll see some good investment in there. All right, ma'am, you had a question. Would you like to come up forward and state your name and address for the record so you can be heard?
I have a trailer there. It's M35.
We need your name, ma'am.
Oh, Constance Kennedy.
Yeah, thank you. Go ahead.
And I've had it there for several years. Okay, if you're going to raise it February, shouldn't we have access to the camp at that time? Because we do not have access to the camp right now until April. Now, if you're gonna have us pay before April, we should be able to be there, have access to it, which we don't right now.
Camping traditionally, wherever you go,
It's closed
is
from-
a 9 month, a year. See, people think it's year long, but it's really 9 months. It's not a year long process. We're obviously closed when we have to be closed for a safety perspective and from the camping season perspective. Prepayment prior to entering camp. If I booked a vacation 2 months from now, I wouldn't have the luxury to pay for that vacation the day I arrive to the vacation. You'd have to pay in advance prior for you to have your reservation, your everything intact, everything happening. And so for us, requiring prepayment, this is just normal practice across all the camping industry. As somebody who's camped out of state and camped across the state, it's normal practice for you to pay prior to you visiting that campsite. And so again, we're just trying to modernize, ensuring that we're capturing the revenue that's due to the city to make sure we have a smooth operation and stop the bleeding at Camp Dearborn. I mean, there's only so many years you can bleed 6-7 figures per year. And so we're really trying to turn that around. And we've been getting better year over year since we've come in.
So are you going to send out notices like you have in the past? I didn't even know until today that this was even going on. Somebody told me about the meeting. And she says, well, I don't have internet, I don't have any of that fancy stuff.
From
And
my
I-
understanding, we have sent notices to all the
I've got nothing.
TV2s, and so, we can try to figure out what happened with your notice, but I know that Camp sent it out because I wrote the letter.
Yeah, because I was really surprised when this friend of mine, she says, are you going to the meeting tonight? I said, what meeting?
Yeah.
I had no idea anything was going on, so I said,
Yeah.
okay, I'll
We
go and
contacted,
find
we
out.
use the address on file as well to mail out the letters, and so if the address on file is wrong, we can get that clarified, but I literally amended and edited that letter myself to make sure that it was going out, and spoke with the council president, ensuring that we have ample notification
Yeah.
to all the folks that are out there.
Well, I'll give you my address and you can send me one because
We'll
I
clarify
because
that.
I want to know about
Steve
it.
right here begins working technically on Tuesday next week. Yeah, so, but he's gonna be over at Camp Dearborn, and so he'll take down your
When's he
information.
gonna be at Camp Dearborn?
You can connect with him now.
I can give you the, okay,
Yeah.
okay,
I'm a resident of TV2 as well.
okay,
Yeah.
So
all right.
I've been out there a number of times. I started on Tuesday.
And another thing is, I did not know anything about the fact, well, I went into the office and the lady told me that they were gonna be closing 2 weeks early this past year, at the winter. And normally it goes up until after the holiday. And this year it didn't. I was surprised.
Yeah, I can't speak for that right now.
It wasn't in our lease or anything, nothing that it would be closing 2 weeks early.
Yeah.
We
Okay.
need to know these things. In this past year, the facilities were turned off. I was there with my granddaughter.
Well,
She
we-
wasn't
yeah,
even a
we did
year
talk
old
about
yet,
the
and the
facilities
facilities were
on-
turned off.
Ma'am, we did talk about that on Mayor, when you weren't here on Thursday, on the committee of the whole regarding the facilities and so on. So I know I think the best situation right now is Mr. Dearborn is in the back, he could take your information. And then, Steve, make sure you give it to Jackie for our council, and we'll follow up for you on it. But yeah, absolutely, a notice is a requirement. It's a requirement by law, and you have to get notice. So there might have been a mix-up, and your address maybe is different than what they have, so we'll get to the bottom of it for you.
Okay, because I do want to know. Thank you.
Absolutely, you're
Thank you.
entitled to know. Just see Mr. Gibor back there. All right, anyone else here would like to address the council regarding city business? Please step forward to state your. Okay, you can discuss it now, but we're going to reach it again on 23, but if you like to, go ahead. Absolutely.
I just have to go back to the minutes.
Absolutely.
Suhail Abdul 354 Rosemary. I want to thank the council for putting this resolution, supporting the memory of our dear friend, Faye Awada. Faye Awada is a friend of mine for the last 30 years. She passed away last week after 1 year of fighting, illness. She was a great citizen in Dearborn. She helped in her little office on Wyoming thousands and thousands of families to get legal status in the United States. And lots of times she did not charge fees. She paid it out of her own pocket to help needy people. And really, she was very loyal to this city, to this country. She was loyal to her friends and families, and she was an icon in our city. And I thank everybody for putting this resolution, and I hope the city council and the mayor from now on, every month, pick residents while he's alive or she's alive, and recognize them. Some people worked in the city for years to help the public, to help the city, to advance the city. I think it would be a good gesture that we recognized our residents. And I thank you again and wish you good luck and Happy New Year.
Thank you, Mr. Hogg. Thank you very much. Okay, anyone else here would like to address the city regarding city business that's not on the agenda? Okay, if not, and there's, Mr. Clerk, no cards, correct?
Correct.
All right, so we will close the public comment, the first public comment, and continue, before we continue, to the consent agenda. Is there any items that any member would like to remove from the consent agenda to be discussed individually? Okay, Mr. Clerk, you can proceed.
Item number 5, resolution in need of offer and support approving all the items on the consent agenda and requesting immediate effect.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. We have an offer by Councilman Enos and supported by Councilwoman Herrick. Any questions or comments from any of my colleagues? Okay, Mr. Clerk, can we have a roll call vote?
Councilmember Enos.
Yes.
Councilmember Hamud.
Yes.
Councilmember Abraham.
Yes.
Councilmember Paris.
Yes.
Councilmember El Sawafi.
Yes.
Councilmember Herrick.
Yes.
Council President Sereni.
Yes.
It's unanimous to move the resolution.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. Next item.
The next item will be moved to item number 13, resolution by council members Enos and Herrick approving the minutes of the previous regular meeting of December 12th, 2023.
All right, is there any additions, deletions, or modifications to these minutes? Okay, hearing and seeing none, unanimous roll shall be attached. Next item.
Item number 14, number 23-1804, an ordinance to amend the building and building regulations chapter 5 of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Dearborn by amending Article 12, Section 5-1333, 5-1335, 5-1336, 5-1339, and 5-1340 entitled Signs. Resolution by council members Hamud and Herrick to take from the table for its final reading.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk, and the unanimous roll will be attached to take from the table for its final reading. The proposed amendments to the city sign ordinance, which was adopted in July 2018, has been is now being made to conform to recent federal court decisions regarding content-based regulations for signs. The changes also encompass input received by the council at 3 study sessions that were held on December 14th of 22, March 22nd of 23, and October 4th of 23 as well to discuss these amendments. The proposed revisions help streamline the city's regulatory approach to signs. The proposed revisions include modifications of definitions, removal of some permit requirements, increasing the number of temporary signs, removal of content-based regulations, removal of regulations on vehicle signs, and reduction in penalties. This is the second and final reading of this ordinance. Are there any questions or comments on this item? Okay, Councilman Paris?
Thank you, Council President. I'd just like to bring to the attention to page 11, number 2, where it says billboards, just the correction, typo. Under 2A and B in the middle of the page, it should just be 2A to include B, and then B again, after that. It's just a run-on a phrase. It'd be on bottom of page 11 of the ordinance itself.
Yeah, I should say C, right?
Yeah, well, it should just be A and B, because B is part of A.
Mr. Romer, you acknowledge that
Oh,
change?
yeah.
Split the word.
Okay,
It's just
yeah.
splitting
I
the
see
phrase.
the duplication.
Yeah. Okay, Councilman Paris, thank you, and the legal counsel has recognized and will make that change. Councilman Hamud?
No, yeah. On the general topic of the ordinance, I'm just really happy. I mean, we had 3 study sessions on it. I think we went back and forth on quite a number of things, and it's been almost a year we've been working on this, so.
Yes.
I'm just so happy that we're finally here, and I really appreciate all the work that everybody's done on this.
We do appreciate it. It does take time, especially when there was legal case law that had to be vetted to go through, and some of the things that we had were, needed to be altered to comply with state law, so I do appreciate it. Councilman El Sawafi.
Thank you, Council President. Just to bring some clarification to residents on what they should expect with this new ordinance changes, some things that I highlighted is time control of non-residential uses in residential district as far as illumination of signs. What we can expect here is the control shall be set so that the sign is not illuminated after 10 p.m. or a half an hour following the close of business. Also, roof signs, and I do have a question on that. So roof signs are not going to be permitted, but is that also for temporary signs?
I didn't catch your
Signs?
question.
Roof signs, is that, if it's a temporary roof sign, is that allowed?
If it's a roof, it falls under temporary signs. So are you just asking if it would be
If that's gonna
permitted
be
on a
allowed,
roof
yes.
sign?
Under this ordinance?
I have, the definitions that he has does not address the roof signage. It addresses the temporary signs and then window signage as temporary. So absent it addressing the roof signage, I would say would not be permitted.
And, did you want to add on that?
No, you can complete. I'll call on him. I think he was good.
Okay. And then another thing that residents should be aware of as well is the duration of temporary signs will be permitted but no more than 60 consecutive days. That's all I had. Thank you.
Okay, anyone else would like to?
I guess a comment on that.
Councilman Hamud, yes?
It does say under roof signs on page 12, it includes temporary roof signs. So even a temporary roof sign, my understanding, based on page 12, means no roof signs including temporary signs, meaning none. So I don't think it falls under a different subsection. Unless legal has a different interpretation of page 12, item 4.
Jeremy said it's not
Yeah,
permissible.
I don't wanna, that's exactly what I said, it's not
Oh,
permissible.
okay, I just
Yeah.
maybe misunderstood. Okay, that's cool.
Yeah, go ahead.
So I remember during our meetings, we talked about, for example, the dealership on Michigan Avenue, and they put the big balloon sign. Would that be not allowed going forward?
That's exactly what that would
According to
mean.
how council requested this ordinance, based on council's recommendations, based on how council wrote this ordinance, it would not be allowed.
I don't think signs were ever allowed on the roof.
Yeah, that's the issue, it's on the roof, that's the issue.
I think,
We know what we wrote.
What I can tell you is it was never enforced.
Any other
It
questions or
wasn't
comments?
My only other comment is, even though there's a couple of things we may have removed, there's a lot of things that we actually are allowing that I think a lot of people have been asking for and are very reasonable based on modern regulations. So like tenants having signs and things like that. I mean, these are realities of like mixed-use business districts that were not allowed prior. So I think hopefully a lot of business owner complaints, especially in the commercial districts, have been addressed. And we didn't really cover that in the executive summary, but these are things that have been ongoing. That and some of the accent lighting requirements, I think they were a little ambiguous, and we've cleaned that up. I think Council President is very passionate about that one, so am I actually. So hopefully that works out, and if we have to revisit it, we'll revisit it, so.
Absolutely, yeah.
Well, thank you for the clarification.
Absolutely, Councilman Paris.
Thank you, Council President. Just a couple things that I wanted to bring up too. There is clarification in this ordinance about inflatables. You see that kind of a proliferation once in a while about inflatable signs, and sometimes not placed where they should be, but there are provisions in the ordinance about that. Sandwich boards, just to emphasize, they're not allowed after November 1st and not again until after March 31st, starting April 1st again. So even if you had permission previously by the director to go ahead and put out those sandwich boards, which is in the ordinance that you are required to do, get permission from the economic development director. After November 1st though, they can't be put out. So that's just something that's clarified in the ordinance too. And I just want to echo too the work that the council and our legal counsel had on this too. Brad, really helped out an awful lot, so I appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, any other questions or comments from my colleagues? Okay, Mr. Clerk, can we have the final reading?
This is the final reading of ordinance number 23-1804, an ordinance to amend the building and building regulations chapter 5 of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Dearborn by amending Article 12, Section 5-1333, 5-1335, 5-1336, 5-1339, and 5-1340 entitled Signs.
Okay, Mr. Clerk, can we have a roll call vote?
Councilmember Hamud.
Yes.
Councilmember Abraham.
yes.
Councilmember Paris.
Yes.
Councilmember El Sawafi.
Yes.
Councilmember Herrick.
Yes.
Council President Sereni.
Yes.
Councilmember Enos.
Yes.
7 yeas, the ordinance passes.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. Next item.
Item 15, ordinance number 23-1805, an ordinance to amend the licenses and business regulations chapter 12 of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Dearborn by amending Article 7A entitled Food Trucks. Resolution by council members El Sawafi and Hamud to take from the table for its final reading.
And the unanimous roll will be attached to take from the table for its final reading. The food trucks in the city are primarily regulated under Chapter 12, Article 7A of the Code of Ordinances under food truck ordinances. The ordinance sets minimum standards for licensing but does not currently address where in the city food trucks may operate. The proposed amendments would regulate, among other things, where in the city food trucks may operate and are modeled after similar regulations in Grand Rapids and in the city of Detroit. The following are summaries of substantive changes that are being proposed. Licenses, signs must be, sign a statement. The licensee must sign a statement holding harmless the city of Dearborn for any damages or property damage that may occur as the result. They're also required to have insurance coverages for licensees that are raised from $100,000 to $1 million per occurrence, and $2 million for general aggregate, with the city named as an additional insurer on the policy. Additionally, there is an inspection for compliance of generator noise, decibel levels not to exceed 80 decibels from a distance of 15 feet. We also are proposing a reciprocal inspection language that allows proof of inspection from the Wayne County Fire Department Mutual Aid Association for compliance of safety, generator noise, as well as exhaust direction requirements, subject to a verification by the fire marshal. We also are requesting that for 10 or more food trucks, the event organizer may apply for a food truck license on behalf of the participating food trucks, subject to all requirements for licensing under this ordinance. Expiration of licenses will be on April 30th to align with annual expiration of the state-issued license as well. Requirement that waste originated from the food truck and not from the customers be collected for disposal of an off-site by a food truck operator, and prohibited on dumping their gray water, grease, or other food waste into the public property, including drains and public trash cans. There also be prohibited loud music or amplified noise, and power required for a food truck must be self-contained and self-provided unless otherwise authorized by the building official. Food trucks may operate as in designated locations with options for daily passes, weekly and weekend passes, monthly passes, and seasonal passes. Enforcement and responsibility will lie with Economic Development Department as well as the police and the clerk's office. This is the second and final reading. Are there any questions or concerns on this item? Councilman Hamud.
I just want to make sure, since I know we have people here and it's been in the news and everything, if you read the first page of the memorandum under community impact, the first bullet point calls out that food trucks will not be allowed to operate outside of a designated city park and approved special events. That's not the case. If you actually read the law that we are passing, we struck that provision. It'll be on page 4 if you're looking at the actual council agenda on the bottom of the page. So just that nobody gets confused on that, we are not addressing food truck locations at this time, and that's going to be a topic that we discuss at likely future study sessions and community meetings. So I just wanted to make that abundantly clear. The current changes that are on the table that Councilman Swafi and I are bringing forward primarily addresses the aspect of allowing food trucks at parks and setting a outline for the Parks Department to start issuing food truck licenses. So as well as addressing a lot of the nuisance issues that we've heard from residents in our neighborhoods especially, or abutting food truck locations, especially when it has to do with waste or noise and things like that. So I just wanted to make sure to give an easy explanation of that. Thank you.
All right, Councilman El Swafi.
Thank you, Council President. Mayor, can you talk a little bit about the appeals process within the administration, and how that's going to play out?
You talking about for the parks?
For the food truck permit parts, yeah.
Yeah, so the way it works is if once we establish the rules, which we have not done yet, for how you can possibly potentially be at a park, if you are not at a park on a certain day and you want to appeal that decision, it first will go to the director of the department. If you're not satisfied with the response from the director, it will come before City Council.
Okay, as far as that response and the time of receiving that response to the food truck owner, what is that time that we anticipate?
14 days. That's in the ordinance.
Okay, that's good. Thank you so much. Just want to make
The
sure.
appeal should be filed with the director within 14 days of them being notified that they were denied.
Right, I guess my question is the response from the director saying,
I don't think it explicitly states how many days. It doesn't say how many days. It then says that the individual has 14 days after receiving word from the director to then file for the council appeal as well.
what is a fair time frame you think for the director to respond?
I mean, We've never gone through this. I don't think it requires much turnaround, but.
2 weeks.
Well, right now, we're not limiting that time.
Correct. I think for us, it's,
So it's
we'll
just,
see
I
how it
guess
goes.
we'd have to see, but it's a good question. I think my bigger concern is that we're asking the appeal to go to the person who denied it. It should also go to the clerk's office. I would recommend that that would be also,
For what purpose?
so that there's a record. The clerk is the keeper of the record of the council by the charter. Clerk is our keeper of records, and that we should be at both locations. Just for housekeeping, makes perfect legal sense. The denial should not go to the person denying it, it should go to both parties. I don't have a problem if it goes to the director, that their appeal, but the appeal should also be filed with the clerk. Because then it becomes a record of the council. Mr. Romer, do you disagree with that?
Well, I was gonna say typically, unless the license is affected where it is either revoked or there's some issue with the license, that's when the clerk's notified, because the clerk is the issuer of the license. So while that appeal or dispute is going through the process, the clerk typically isn't notified, they're just notified of the final outcome if it affects the license.
Right, but that would be based on the assumption that it is regarding the certain license. That's not the assumption. The assumption is on the location, which is in the purview of the council.
Right, but then if it's on the location, it's just denial of the location, has nothing to do with the license of
Right.
of the
The
owner.
purpose
So
of
the
the
clerk would
Inform the clerk.
Correct, but is the clerk not the keeper of the record of the council? Is the clerk, is that not what the charter indicates as well? That you are the keeper of the record of the council?
We keep all the records, correct?
Yeah, but
I
you would
just wanna
have the
have a
record
record.
of the council hearing or any decision done by the council in normal course of business. You would need to be notified again of what occurred at a meeting of the council.
I think it's up to the council body. I just think it's prudent that an appeal should have a two-location where it goes for, so that's received properly. I don't think it's a big deal. And this was brought forward by, I mean, unless my council colleagues don't agree, I don't have a problem with it. I think that if someone wants an appeal, it should be sent so that we do get it as well as the council. When it goes to the clerk, it does come to us. So, Councilman, was it? Al-Sawafi and Hamud. And I don't know if my colleagues have it, all we're asking is just the notice that goes, the appeal request to the director should then also be provided to the clerk, so that the council will get notice.
So which,
Would be the appeals process.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, which number would you like to modify it? So it's page 8.
Bottom of page 8.
Yeah, so let's see, notice of hearing.
It's page 8, number 1.
I don't know. Person wishing to
Such appeal should be filed with the director, and I would just put, and the city clerk.
The onus is on the
well,
food truck operator.
Yeah, just put the onus on the petitioner, absolutely.
Well, oh, so the person has to send it to 2 places?
Yeah, he can bring, yeah, absolutely. The clerk is very common.
I don't,
Well, it's up, if you feel you want
I
the
think
director
it's-
to bring it, to me, I want to make sure the council gets notice, so.
I think it's simpler to have it to be to one location rather than having to, CC 2 offices and then hope they both get it. I think it's more like, it would be better if if they want to forward I kind of agree with what legal said, which is once, assuming the director is doing their job, they would have to forward the appeal to the council body per the law. And then, obviously, once we get a notice of a meeting for an appeal, it would then be created as a record. I mean, that's my understanding.
The notice of appeal would come from the complainant, so the plaintiff,
Yeah.
whichever term you want to use, the food truck operator. They disagreed with the
petitioner.
director.
He's gonna
It
petition.
would naturally
Yeah,
have
the
to fall in
petitioner.
council's lap anyway. So I don't know that we have to add an additional notice requirement. 'cause
Okay,
I
so
think
you
a
don't,
little
that's fine.
onerous.
So you don't want to put a notice, it'll go to the director.
And then it would come to us, because unless they're gonna break the law.
No, I understand. That's, no one's saying they're breaking the law. We're trying to make sure that there's a time issue here. I think you're missing that element. But I mean, you're offering it, so if you don't feel there's a time element issue,
Well, I think
we
the
can let it go
time-
and find out when it happens.
Yeah, I think the time element, the way I understand it, is the director has 14 days, or sorry, the appealer has 14 days to file after a denial, and then let's see, upon request for appeal, number 2 says, the city council should serve notice by certified mail not less than 14 days prior to the hearing. That's fine. Appeal should be filed within 14 days. Oh, okay, so it already forces the director to file something with the city council office within 14 days in bullet number 2. So we would receive from the director, we would receive a notice.
From the director, okay.
Yeah,
If
to-
that's
to
the
us.
case, that's what I
think
wanted
that's,
to make sure.
I think that's reasonable.
Yeah, is that your understanding, Councilman? Mr. Romer, is that how you understand bullet point 2?
Yeah, and that's what I was saying, where it naturally becomes part of your record that the clerk maintains as the secretary to the council by charter.
Okay,
Yeah, so the director has to notify us under
so then the
law.
only other condition, so go ahead, Councilman.
right?
Yeah,
Within 14 days, they get notified.
Right, when they get denied.
Right, but because a lot of these permits are event-oriented, it says he has to give notice to the council within 14 days, but not give a decision, correct?
well, because it's an appeal. It's up to us to schedule the meeting at that point.
Yes, I think what you're considering though, Councilman Swampy, is how long the director has to act. I think that's your concern, is that correct?
That's
They
correct.
have
Okay,
14 days.
that's the issue, is that it doesn't, there's no deadline on that.
There is, it's 14 days.
No, that's
To file with the council.
Yeah.
for the person once he's denied.
Yeah, but it gives,
Right.
no, but the second step is,
I know, but I guess he's asking, Councilman, are you asking how long does director have to deny him?
No, to put his answer, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's to give him the denial because he's gonna be appealing, right? I mean, that's what the reason if they were approved, they're not gonna be coming in front of us.
Correct.
So in this ordinance, Mr. Romer, it does not put a time frame for the director to act, is that correct?
Yeah, there's no time frame for the decision of the director.
oh, so
That's what I
what
was
we're
saying.
talking about is different. That's the initial denial you're talking about.
He's
Yeah,
talking about
that's
it.
Not the
correct.
appeal, no, I think what you're talking about.
The initial denial.
What the councilman is speaking to is, I'm Tough Taco, and I got denied to be at Hemlock Park. I had 14 days to go to Sean Fletcher and tell him why was I denied.
Mhm.
Sean Fletcher does not have an X amount of days to respond back to Tough Taco, let them know why he was denied. But once Tough Taco does get a written letter saying you were denied for X reason, Tough Taco then has 14 days to appeal to council.
Once the director denies it, then you trigger the appeal of denial. You don't have to the director does not have to give a reason to the person for them to appeal. I think what Councilman Swaffy is referring to is that initial denial is actually not timed. So let's say you're a Tough Taco and you apply
In
for
the appeal process, the director's response would technically be a second denial. Does that make sense?
it's looking for a,
Does that
there's a
make
second
sense?
denial.
If you'd like, we can add the same time frame for the director. I don't think that, if it's 14 days, that's more than sufficient.
Okay.
I would just put the caveat, and I don't know how the council feels, or designee, because I don't know if it occurs when the director's out or on vacation. So just so it has that flexibility so that the 14-day period can be met.
So we're really talking about bullet point, actually, these are misnumbered too. It's bullet point, it says it's bullet point 4, but really there's two bullet point 4s, so it's really probably bullet point 5. So we're talking about bullet point 4 though, not bullet point 5. So that's where, so bullet point 4 puts grounds for revocation of designated location. Recreation director shall issue written notice to revoke the recreation food truck permit if the food, oh, well, that's a revoke, it's not,
Yeah, that's
that's different, yeah.
It's page 8, appeals for park locations.
Yeah,
That's
I
where we're at.
understand. I just think.
Which is 5.
So we need to add another item in there about that second denial timing. If we're worried about that. We'd have that in another sentence. So how do you, anyone have any phrasing?
Would be adding that within 14 days they received the notice. And if that's okay with you, Mayor, if you feel like that's sufficient, that's what I was asking in the beginning.
That's fine.
And I would be okay with adding that time in there. And I know Councilman Mahmoud supported it as well, so. And however, the rest of my colleagues feel as well about this.
Yeah, I don't have a concern with that. I just want to make sure, Mr. Romer, I think you made a good point about recreation director or designee would be appropriate.
So I think at the end of bullet point, or at the end of item, or 1 here, under subsection 5, we would put that the appeal to the director, essentially the director needs to respond to this initial appeal.
Just that third sentence, the appeal shall be decided by the director or designee within 14 days without hearing.
Yes, it says it has to be filed, yeah, okay. Yeah, so you add in the word 14 days in that.
Or designee.
Yeah,
And
or designee, yeah, I'm okay with that, yeah, that sounds good.
Okay, and then, Mr. Romer, you would have to just add designee, again, I think in paragraph 2, I think, just in case that is done by someone else.
Yeah, I'll make it consistent.
Yeah, just for consistency. All right, does anybody have any objection to that on the council? All right, any other questions or comments on this ordinance? From the, I don't hang it one second, I'm sorry, just from the council, then we're gonna open for the floor. Okay, then, anybody from the audience would like to speak on this, please step forward and state your name and address for the record. It is item 15, the food truck ordinance. Yeah, okay, just your name again.
Berry, Dearborn. Same thing that goes, same question for how long does the city council have? So I know that we have 14 days to file an appeal after the director or designee denies it, but does then city council have 14 days to hold that hearing?
Mr. Romer, is that your understanding?
Yeah, they have to serve notice and have it within 14 days prior to the hearing.
I don't see that. I see the notice of hearing.
We're not putting a restriction on ourselves.
She's talking about the notice requirement, correct?
It just says that we should be served no less than 14 days prior to the hearing, but it doesn't give, I guess, council a time frame to schedule the hearing. Like, does it have to be scheduled within 14 days of denial? That's the clarification I'm asking.
I don't think that we placed that restriction, did we, Mr. Romer?
We didn't, given the period of time between the meetings for the council. So if you put that restriction in, it's likely everyone will be a special meeting.
Yeah.
So we didn't
Right,
put
no,
that.
you don't want to do that, yeah. for the
Yeah, we did not
taxpayers.
put that time frame in there.
Yeah, we will schedule that like we do our normal meetings, the scheduling process, so.
Would it be like on like the next Tuesday, or how would that work?
It depends on
Okay.
what time of the year it is and what the budget hearings and so on and so forth. Depends on where it is. Obviously, if it's, gonna affect, we're gonna take it seriously because it's an event that's happening, but this is a rotation, so there's gonna be many people.
I just want to
that are
clarify.
I know, but Mayor, just one second, and I hope you can jump in on this one. There's only 7 or 8 slots, there's limited, so there's gonna be people that are gonna be denied that might get approved later. So, we're just gonna have to take it by that. Mayor?
I just want to clarify, because I think I heard the word events thrown out twice. Being able to post up Hemlock on a Wednesday, not that there's an event or anything happening, it's just a casual Wednesday. Event processes tend to be different than being able to post up in a park. We don't have events at parks aside from Ford Field for homecoming. So just wanted to clarify that. So, it wouldn't be like there's a big event happening at a park, you were denied, therefore this triggers. This is more of you tried being there Tuesday at 6, you were told no, this triggers this process. Just wanted to give that clarification.
Could we possibly put a time frame or a caveat, no later than 45 days?
No, I would not want to do that. This is a privilege,
Okay.
so it's not something, this is a privilege. It's a license, so the privilege is the bodies here. So we will address it, so we haven't, I don't think there's going to be concern.
Okay, and then my next question is, when it comes before, if and when it comes before city council, would that be more of a quorum vote, or how would that look?
Well, Mr. Romer can address that as our counsel, but because that it is a licensee denial, I would assume we would have some requirements that we've had in the past on other issues. Is that correct?
Yeah, it's the same as any requirement by the council to pass a resolution or its motion.
Okay.
So yes, you need the quorum requirement to pass it.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Berry. All right, any other person would like to address the council regarding this item or on the food trucks? Okay. Okay, hearing and seeing none, Mr. Clerk, can we have the final reading?
This is the final reading of ordinance number 23-1805, an ordinance to amend the License and Business Regulations Chapter 12 of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Dearborn by amending Article 7A entitled Food Trucks.
Okay, Mr. Clerk, can we have a roll call vote?
Councilmember Abraham.
Yes.
Councilmember Paris.
Yes.
Councilmember El Sawafi.
Yes.
Councilmember Herrick.
Yes.
Council President Sereni.
Yes.
Councilmember Enos.
Yes.
Councilmember Hamud.
Yes.
7 yeas, the ordinance passes.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. Next item, please.
Item 16, resolution by council members El Sawafi and Herrick awarding a contract to CSM Mechanical in the amount of $146,550 for boiler replacement at Hubbard East and requesting immediate effect.
All right, the existing boilers at Hubbard Manor East have surpassed the life expectancy of 24 years and is recommended that both units be replaced. 3 bids were received and CSM Mechanical was the lowest responsive bid. The Public Works and Facilities Department, in conjunction with the Housing Division And Purchasing recommends an issuing a contract of a replacement of the boilers at the Hubbard Manor East to CSM Mechanical. The total cost for Hubbard Manor East boiler replacement is $146,550 and is requesting immediate effect. Any questions or comments on this item? Councilwoman Harris.
I'd just like to express appreciation for the continued investment in all of our senior housing projects, especially those that pertain to the quality of life, such as heating and cooling of the buildings. And I know that this is just one of many improvements that we're looking to implement in the next couple of years, thanks to the work of the administration.
Thank you very much, Councilman. Any other questions or comments on this item? Okay, hearing and seeing none, unanimous roll shall be attached. Next item.
Item 17, resolution by council members Abraham and Enos, authorizing the third and final one-year renewal option with Ferguson Enterprises LLC in the amount not to exceed $200,000 for water meters and associated parts, resulting in a new expiration date of December 31st, 2024, and requesting immediate effect.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. The Department of Public Works and Water and Sewers Division, in conjunction with Purchasing, recommends the third and final renewal of a one-year renewal options for a sole source purchase with water meters associated parts with Ferguson Enterprises LLC. The value of the renewal is not to exceed $200,000 and will be valid through December 31st of 2024. Ferguson Enterprises LLC is the sole authorized distributor of the state of Michigan to provide Neptune brand parts that are required. The city of Dearborn requires such parts that are branded to match the existing Neptune meters and radio reading devices which are installed throughout our city. Immediate effect is being requested so that the city maintains its inventory for the water mains and associated parts for its 33,000 accounts. Any questions or comments on this item? Councilman Paris?
Thank you, Council President. The only reason why I'm speaking on this item now is I believe during our committee of the whole that I asked to keep this off the consent agenda. But I must say that I know our deputy for DPW and facilities did send me some information, and I want to thank you to the director, Tim Hawkins, that I did get the information that I was already seeking, and that's why I was going to bring it up during the committee of the whole. So thank you. It's my understanding from the paperwork that I got, it was about 246 or so between August and the end of December. And I'm perfectly satisfied with that information, so I have no further questions.
All right, thank you. Any other questions or comments on the water meters? All right, hearing and seeing none, unanimous roll shall be attached. Mr. Clerk, next item.
Item 18, resolution by council members Herrick and El Sawafi awarding a sole source contract to Wyandotte Alarm Company for the installation of fire alarm and fire alarm monitoring services for the Historical Museum in the amount of $47,982, which includes a $42,030 initial material and installation cost and a $496 monthly monitoring cost, and requesting immediate effect.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. Due to the recent electrical outage, the museum aged fire protection system was ceased to operate. The museum the current security provider is Wyandotte Alarm, has agreed to add fire protection to our current monthly package. The four structures include the McFadden Ross House, the Garden House, the museum office, and the Commandant's quarters. The Library Department and Historical Museum, in conjunction with Purchasing, is recommending an award of contract to Wyandotte Alarm Company for installation of fire alarms and fire monitoring service. This project will cost $42,030 for initial material installation and a cost of $496 per month for monitoring as well, with a total first-year cost of $47,982. Immediate effect is being requested to not delay any interrupted services. Any questions or comments on this item? Councilman Hammoud?
I guess I'm just curious, why do we outsource the monitoring of the fire alarms at the museums? Like, why doesn't it just link to the fire department?
Okay. Chief, I don't know if the chief or library, because the library took over the museum, but who could better answer that question?
I guess the only other question is,
You might want to repeat.
Yeah, don't worry
I'm just
about it.
curious.
Let
Like,
him go. He's just.
What was the question?
There you go.
yeah, I see we pay an outside company $400 a month to monitor our smoke detectors at the museum. I'm just wondering, is that the type of thing the fire department already does maybe with some other buildings in the city, and why can't we just plug them into, I don't know, our dispatch or something? Like, why do we have to pay a company to, it goes from us to a company, and then the company calls our dispatch and then tells them to send you guys over, and we're paying them for this service?
Yeah, generally with the third-party companies, they'll do follow-ups too, so if it's a false alarm, they'll call, talk to the resident, well, not necessarily the resident, but the businesses, help them to reset it if need be, they cancel the fire department en route. It's all kind of dependent on how you set it up, but most of our fire alarms that we deal with come through a third party.
Yeah, but this is like inside of our city buildings. So do we outsource any other city buildings and ask a third-party company to notify the fire department when they catch fire?
Yeah, I would have to follow up with finance and purchasing to get you information on that.
Yeah, I guess I understand the purchase of the fire alarms. I don't have a problem with that. I think it's just the monthly maintenance. It's like why, I'm just having a hard time understanding why we have to pay somebody else to notify the fire department about a city building catching fire.
The library's here, and then Director Hawkins is here as well. I don't know if you could shed some light if other buildings, if you'd like to come up. Thank you, Chief.
Yep.
Just to give the councilman some context, I know library's here as well. As to city buildings that have fire monitoring, is it done by a third party?
Good evening, Tim Hawkins, DPW Director. All of our systems are monitored by a third party, even this building here at the DAC.
Okay.
Yeah. And they usually do software updates and other things to the system, the program, on how it works and connects with the different detection units. And they offer service updates and bulletins on age and things on the system too.
Okay. Well,
Councilman Abraham?
Yeah, especially in public facilities and open facilities for business, that it's very regulated. You have to be licensed to sell the equipment, to maintain the equipment. I mean, it's obviously a public safety issue, especially in retail stores, big box retail. All those facilities, it's very complicated. You have to be licensed by the state of Michigan to be a monitor, to be able to install and maintain that equipment. So it's not just send a red light signal to the bat phone at Station 4. It's a lot more than that, because you have people in the facility. That's really what your asset is that you're trying to secure, is the safety of the people in the buildings, really, not just the facility itself. And it's just how it is.
If it's a state regulation thing, then it's whatever. But.
Yeah. Well, that's what the director's saying as well. Any other questions on that? Thank you, Director Hawkins. Thank you, Councilman Abraham, for your insight. Any other questions or comments on this item? Okay, hearing and seeing none, unanimous roll shall be attached. Next item.
Item 19, resolution by council members Herrick and Paris, authorizing a cooperative contract purchase from American Interiors through the Omnia Partners contract in the amount of $71,224.64 for the purchase of office furniture and installation for Hubbard Manor East and Hubbard Manor West, and requesting immediate effect.
All right, as part of the project to relocate the housing division staff to the Hubbard Manor East and West offices, areas require purchase and installation of office furniture. The housing division of the Department of Public Works and Facilities Department is requesting an approval for a one-time purchase for the amount of $71,224.64 with American Interiors for furniture and installation in the Hubbard Manor East and West offices. The proposed received by American Interiors will include 6 U-shaped sit-in private offices, 2 L-shaped sit-in workstations, 2 conference room tables and chairs, and 2 break room tables and chairs. Immediate effect is being requested to facilitate the department's reallocation. Any questions or comments on this item? Councilman Hammoud?
And on this one, I think my understanding is we're paying a request of $71,000 for 12 pieces of furniture, which averages out to about $6,000 a piece, which, I understand that we want to bring our housing division into the buildings. So I guess what I have to say about it mostly is while, you know, I don't necessarily have a problem with this item, and fine furniture can be expensive, but what, I guess in the longer term, what I'd like to see is more investments that actually affect the lives of the people living in these buildings. So I think $71,000 is quite a substantial quantity of money, and I think there's a lot more, you know, quality of life improvements that we can make to common areas in these buildings from what I've seen. So I hope that these same investments are also doubled or, you know, also done into the actual common spaces in these buildings.
Thank you, Councilman. I can say that I know in our conversation with the mayor and during the committee of the whole and in the past, he's indicated this move of bringing the employees to the buildings should enhance their life significantly. This is more of a restructuring that, I don't want to speak for him, but that's what we were instructed in the past, is to bring the employees, instead of away from the facilities and not visiting the facilities, to have them on site, which is supposed to make a better synergy for a long run. Director Hawkins, do you have something to shed on that?
Tim Hawkins, DPW and Facilities Director. Well, thank you for your support, and I just want you to know we will be looking into that. We are looking at doing some upgrades to the cafeteria areas, some of the central sitting areas for the residents as well in those buildings. So that has been brought to our attention, and we are, with your support, going to move forward at doing some upgrades that will improve the quality of life directly for the residents. And as for this move, I would like to say that when we spoke to the residents, when DPW was taking over housing, one of their concerns was that they did have to travel to City Hall. So we were trying to alleviate some of that in the mass transportation for our residents to and from that didn't have vehicles. So, but it's noted. I will definitely make sure you're updated on all future updates for the Hubbards.
Yeah.
And then just for clarification that I did not put, but it is in the memo that I did not put in my summary, was just this is a cooperative contract, so it is competitively bid, so that no one thinks this was sole source. This was a competitive cooperative bill. Yeah, Councilman Hammoud?
Yeah, and I guess just to kind of also articulate my position on it, I understand, I actually really appreciate, I went through some of the buildings recently over the holiday break, and I like the fact that the building managers are actually present in the buildings. I noticed that there's new offices for that, so that's very helpful to me. Sorry, no, this is not, this is a little different. So the building managers already have their office space. What happened is additionally, there's new offices that are being put in on the first floor.
Right.
And we actually discussed this offline, but this has to do with the housing administration, not the working level management, but the upper level housing administration going into the buildings. So I guess that was one of the first things we talked about, maybe even 2 years ago, was these new offices. My personal position on it is that the housing staff, like we'll say the upper level administrators, those aren't the people that the people in the buildings are necessarily interacting with, and it's fine that they're in the buildings. I guess I'm agnostic about that, but I think the really important thing that is improving the quality of life of people is that DPW did end up putting the building managers in the building. And I think it's really good that the people on site do have a specific contact. This is more for the management, and they're actually consolidated over 2 buildings, I think.
Hubbard East and Hubbard West.
Yeah, Hubbard East and Hubbard West. So this is a little different than just the building managers.
But if I could, Councilman, I do want to just say, though, that I believe it puts the administration at the forefront of the issues. It's very easy to dismiss potential issues sitting here versus in the building. When you walk in and you have residents waiting as you come into a building, just like as all of us, our neighbors, right? They wait for us to come and sit on the porch or whatever to ask us questions. It'll be the same thing if the all staff is there. I believe that more items will get addressed in a quicker fashion, and I believe this will be beneficial for the residents. I do.
Yeah, because I did notice that some of the buildings that had more staff in them, like the Hubbards, you can actually see a physical difference in the way the amenities are and the way the common areas are, as opposed to the housing buildings like Kennedy and Sisson, which did not have as many staff on site. So I think there is maybe a direct correlation actually there between.
We're going to try
between the two. So I do appreciate that you guys are moving some of the housing commission individuals into the federal buildings. So I think hopefully, we'll see some requests for funding come forward on there, because I think there's a lot of potential in the federal buildings, especially on amenities for the people who are there. And I know that they have a budget that exists, so.
Councilman Paris.
Thank you, Council President. The only reason why I want to bring something up now is because it's dealing with Hubbard Manor East and West. And we have had a number of items in the preceding months or even years about all the upgrades to our senior citizen facilities. I just want to bring it up again to keep it in the forefront. I just read now today, we've got 3,000 buyouts proposed for DTE. We've got rate increases over $300 million that we had this last year. I'm not fond of the responsiveness of DTE, so I'm going to bring it up again, and please bring it to the forefront. We need the generators for both buildings. And I know it's been in the budget for the last several years now. And I know the delays because of getting the equipment, the cost, getting people to do it and what have you. But it's got to be a priority to have a backup generator for those two facilities that we own. So I appreciate that.
And let me make it clear, you're absolutely right, they need to be renewed, but they are both fully functioning for the bottom 6 floors. So the design of those generators is they power the bottom 6 floors of both buildings in common area and ability to get water and life safety up to those. It is above that is what we're actually looking for in the next set of generators, to be able to power the full 10 floors to what they have with some of the new requirements for life safety, right? With the new populace and the advances in medicine, there are other things that have come a long way. So yes, it is on the forefront, but I don't want to give the impression that the generators do not work, because they both fully function.
Understand that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for that clarification. Any other questions or comments? Okay. Hearing and seeing none, unanimous roll shall be attached. Next item.
Item 20, resolution by council members Enos and Hamud authorizing a cooperative contract purchase from Emergency Services Consulting International through the NPP Government Cooperative Contract in the amount of $76,908 for a comprehensive risk assessment and planning for the fire department.
All right, the Dearborn Fire Department, thank you, Mr. Clerk. The Dearborn Fire Department was awarded a highly competitive FEMA assistance to firefighters grant in the amount of $73,546 to conduct this comprehensive community risk assessment for the city. The assessment will evaluate the current fire and safety risks throughout the city and compare it against existing fire department resources, protocols, as well as procedures. The study will go further by assisting the fire department development of a long-term master plan, establishment of strategic priorities reflective of current and future community needs, and development of standards of coverage to ensure that our fire department is deploying the most appropriate resources in the most effective manner. The total cost of the risk assessment and planning is $76,908, which requires a city match of $3,502. Purchasing on behalf of the fire department recommends a cooperative contract purchase of this comprehensive risk assessment and planning for emergency services with international for the cost based on the NPP Government Cooperative Contract of PS 20365. The risk assessment will be a one-time purchase only. And I know we've had some questions or comments, so Chief, if you'd like to come forward on our committee of the whole regarding this. Thank you, Chief. So just so when you can address the council on, I know that we had this in the past, if you could just give us the time frame, how often this happens and how much it does affect our residents.
Sure, Fire Chief Murray. So we try to do this every 4 or 5 years, this more formal. We do a continual risk assessment of the city internally at the fire department, but every 4 or 5 years we try to bring in a third party to assist us in doing more comprehensive studies. So what this does essentially is it brings the vendor in. They interview a number of different stakeholders within the city about what they expect from their fire services, fire protection. They do a risk assessment because, as you know, there's different formulas in how we respond, if it's residential, if it's commercial, if it's industrial, if it has hazardous materials, high-rises. So they do an overall look at the city, and then they go back and they take those risks that they identified and compare them against our protocols and our policies and our resources to make sure that what we have in place is meeting the current risk, and then also we're looking towards the future risk. So we've been working with economic development, talking about the master plan, about different potential zoning changes in the future, potential buildings, so that we can start, preparing in the future for that as well. So this was a totally $73,000 from grant funding, and having this document also helps us makes us eligible for other grants in the future. So it's something that's very important.
Yeah, no, I do remember that you'd had brought this up in the past, that this is a catalyst for many other grants, so we do appreciate it. I know we had some other questions. I'm not sure if there's any other questions from my colleagues regarding this. Okay, well, thank you very much, Chief. I know that these grants are competitive, and we do appreciate your work on it. This would only cost the taxpayers about $3,502 off the city match, so I appreciate that.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Chief. Any other questions or comments? Okay, hearing, seeing none, unanimous roll should be attached. Next item.
Item 21, resolution by council members Hamud and Herrick, authorizing the finance director to recognize a donation from Dolores Ito in the amount of $1,000 in the 634 fund in project I-34300, account number 634-5100-365.90-00, and appropriate to the Henry Ford Centennial Library Auditorium renovations in account number 634-5100-435.98-00, and requesting immediate effect.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. Jack and Dolores Ito are frequent contributors to the library and recently donated $1,000 after Jack's passing. Our condolences to Jack, and we'd like to thank them for a longtime city of Dearborn. They were actually longtime city Dearborn employees as well, and we'd like to thank the Ito family for their donation. This request will be recognized and appropriated to the account numbers stated by the clerk so eloquently. So we'll just leave it there. Thank you, Mr. Clerk. An immediate effect is being requested. Any questions or comments? Okay, unanimous roll shall be attached. Thank you. Next item.
Yes, we have two supplemental agenda items. The first one, item 22, resolution by Council President Serini, supported unanimously, offering condolences to the family of Haj Nami Saad and requesting immediate effect.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. Haj Nami Saad was born on September 10th of 1951 and sadly passed away on October 3rd of 2023. He was 72 years old. He was preceded in death by his beloved wife of 43 years, Fadia Saad. Together they raised four beautiful children, Hussein, Hassan, Mohammed, and Nadia. Haj Ali was also an amazing grandfather to his grandchildren, and which were of 8 loving brothers and sisters. Ali was also a lifetime resident of Dearborn. He worked at Blue Cross and Blue Shield of Michigan for 40 years. Ali was a very smart man who worked his way from entry-level analyst and statistical analyst and research development for Blue Cross and Blue Shield, where he was very well respected in his work, in his position, and as well as in the community. Ali's family describes him as the best father, grandfather, and partner. He spent most of his free time with his family, playing games or traveling. Ali enjoyed his time being around the people he loved more than anything. Haj Ali was also known as a man of very few words, but when he spoke, it was worth you listening to. He was a very righteous man, always doing what he believed was right and taking care of people all around him. He was a quiet giver, someone who always helped others in the community without anyone else knowing. Ali's humble words of wisdom, generosity, and intellect always will be dearly missed by his family, friends, and his neighbors. He was loved and respected and admired by all who he had met. To all, we offer our heartfelt, sincere condolences to his family.
If I may, Mayor.
Yes, Mayor. Yes, if you'd like to add on to it, Mayor, absolutely.
Yeah, so, when I first graduated with my public health master's, I went and interned at Blue Cross Blue Shield and first met Haj Ali Saad there. And at the end of that internship, it was Haj Ali that actually offered me my first full-time employment opportunity. He never knew who I was, knew that I was from Dearborn, but based on the months of working within that organization over at Blue Care Network, he extended a helping hand, although I didn't take it at the time. but it just expresses the type of generosity that this person demonstrated. As a father, the greatest thing you want is for your children to grow up and to be better than you. And if there's anything anybody ever told us about Haj Ali's children is be like Haj Ali's children. He has 2 orthopedic surgeons and he has 2 dentists. And it's like, for any immigrant parent, this is like the climax of success in the world. And as a father of 2 now, I hope my children do grow up to be like Haj Ali's children. They are great examples of what it means to be dedicated residents. One of their surgeons is actually a reserve officer as well. Like he doesn't have enough time to spare. And his wife, Fadia, is a godsend. And so it's definitely a loss for the whole community. Express our sincere, warm well wishes and love to the whole family. Inshallah, tusabro ya Rab, and Allah yarhamu. So may God rest his soul.
Thank you, Mayor. And Clerk, this unanimous roll shall be attached. Next item.
Item 23, resolution by Councilmember Al Sawafi, supported unanimously, offering condolences to the family of Faye Mahmoud Awada and requesting immediate effect.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. Faye Mahmoud Awala sadly passed away on January 4th, 2024. She was the beloved daughter of the late Hajj Mahmoud Hassan Awala and the late Hajj Zainab Mahmoud Subh. She was also the beloved mother of Turk Awada. She leaves behind siblings Ali and Ahmad. Miss Awada, also the beloved grandmother of Medina, Hussein, Juliana, Jacob, and Abi Awada. Miss Awada immigrated with her family from Lebanon in 1960. And she spent the past 30-plus years as a social worker and the director of the United International Services and Corporations, or also known as UIS. UIS's activities included filling out immigration forms, paralegal services, community and social services, and translation. Ms. Awada had an active caseload of over 100,000 clients from various ethnic backgrounds. As a social worker and caregiver, she gained fame even outside of the United States for caring for families who are recent immigrants. She has been the primary assistant to her clients in courts, immigration offices, law firms, police stations, and hospitals. Ms. Awada is a highly respected figure in the Arab American community and was known for her compassion, patience, and advocacy. Ms. Awada was known for her warm and welcoming nature and played a pivotal role in the community. The love she had for her family, friends, and community was apparent. She was well remembered in Dearborn as a notable figure for her reputation to passionately assist and give back to the community at every opportunity. She was very proud of her accomplishments as well as time spent together with her family. She was loved, respected, and admired by all who surrounded her life. Our community mourns this great loss. We offer our most heartfelt sympathy and sincere condolences to her family and her loved ones. And on a personal note, she was always there to give me prayers, words of encouragement when I definitely needed it, and well wishes. Definitely offer our condolences to her family. I know, Council President.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Councilman Al-Swafi. Just Ms. Awada was a giant in the community. I've known her and her family for 30, 40 years. So it was a big loss. A very active person that believed in helping others, and it showed. So she's going to be dearly missed, and we wish our the best wishes to her family and her extended family as they go through these trying times. Councilman Hammoud?
Yeah, Allah Yarhama, and for me as well, on a personal note, so my family has known her specifically and her family going back to the political work my father was doing in the 90s when it wasn't as popular, other than your family, Council President, involved in politics. So she was always at the forefront of fighting for people who were underrepresented and things like that, especially in the community at the time when it wasn't as popular to be as engaged. So we really appreciate her public service, and inshallah, peace for her and her family.
Absolutely. Thank you very much. And the unanimous roll shall be attached. Next item, Mr. Clerk.
Nothing further from the clerk, thank you.
All right, thank you. So for the council, before we open up, I know there's some here. I just wanted to, been assigned to make sure we wish all the birthdays. So I want to make sure I give Councilman, we have been asking the age or the date, but Councilman Abraham, January 12th, congratulations on another birthday.
Thank you very much.
Absolutely. Round of applause. Thank you very much, Councilman Abraham. We did have some good conversation at the council, the committee of the whole, that I wanted to just briefly share with the residents. Councilman Abraham, as well as Councilman Paris, came up, Councilman Abraham's suggestion, and Councilman Paris really helped. And as many people have seen the council under the new leadership of myself, we named the council the 34th council, and we've been doing things differently. But I think which was really important is Councilman Abraham's suggestion, and we're going to highlight that soon together, regarding all the councils that have been able to serve and what that means to be a public servant. So we were able to work with our historical commission and archives, and those that may visit or do get to see the chambers, we were able to put together a very, very collective collage across the back wall of all the councils, from the 34th to the first council. And I think it's a great tribute to those that have served, and a reminder for those that are serving, what it means to actually put your name on a ballot and run. There's a lot of people that are single issue people, or come up and want to complain, or might not have a solution, or want to help on a certain aspect. And there's also people that put their livelihood and put their name on the ballot, put their family at stake, and then come here and show up and do the work. And there's a big difference between those two. So I thought it was a tremendous honor, and I thank Councilman Abraham and Councilman Paris, because he was a longtime retired police officer, actually knew some people that the museum didn't know. Is that right, Councilman Paris?
You're aging me.
Well, I thought it was tremendous, and I want to thank our council staff and office for putting these together. But it wasn't easy, because not every council had formal pictures together, and a lot of them were taken together, informally in some chambers in the old city hall and in some other areas. So we were able to get it all together. It was a lot of work, and I wanted to just make people know that if they do come to the council chambers, take a look at some of the people that have served this great community. Myself personally, I was very proud to see my mother up there in 1989. So it's an honor to serve your community. Everybody has their own way of giving back in some way or another, and this definitely is the way I feel that I can give back. So I wanted to thank all our members here for serving, and all the past members for serving. And again, just Councilman Abraham for the suggestion to put this together, and of course our staff for the hard work.
Of all the photos, take a look at the first council.
I will, yeah.
With Mayor Ford.
Yes.
That's. I think we should bring back a dress code of pinstripe, wide lapel.
You know how I feel about
double-breasted suits.
You know how I feel about the dress code.
That seemed to be what the standard was amongst that council, but I think that was also during Prohibition, and it looked like there was a lot of action happening in this photo.
That's true. That's true. All right. Anything from my council colleagues? Councilman Paris.
Just briefly, Council President, I just want to recognize that January 9th is National Police Recognition Day. Obviously, I'm saying that because I've had a background in law enforcement. My family's involved in law enforcement still, son and daughter, son-in-law. But just taking a moment to thank a lot of police officers and law enforcement in general for the jobs that they have to do today. It's quite different from the time that I had. Much more demanding, very difficult. So I just want to recognize our Dearborn police officers in the city, the community that we call Dearborn. And I also want to make mention too, police and fire life expectancy. You know, with a lot of cancers, with a lot of stresses on the job. Recently lost a retired detective sergeant who was 57 years old. Just retired not too long ago, worked with me at the police department for a period of time, and then also at AAA for a period of time, although it was in a different building. So reach out to them once in a while. Even if it's once in a while, you see somebody in passing and say, hey, thank you. It'll mean the world to them. So appreciate everybody. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Pearson. Thank you for recognizing that. Councilwoman Herrick.
Thank you, Council President. I just wanted to remind my colleagues who already knew of this, I'm sure, but everyone who's here in the room today and those who might be watching the council meeting, that Mayor Hammoud will be speaking at the Dearborn Area Chamber of Commerce Tale of Our Cities annual breakfast coming up next week on Tuesday, January 16th at 8 a.m. at Park Place. Tickets are still available through the Chamber of Commerce website if you'd like to attend this event. I know I always look forward to it because it's an opportunity to hear the mayor of Dearborn, Mayor Hammoud, and Bill Bazzi of Dearborn Heights talk about, highlights of, the recent months in their own city, as well as, their vision for the near future in the towns that affect our daily lives. So I'm looking forward to the breakfast, and I hope others will join us.
Thank you very much, Councilwoman, for that reminder. Anyone else on the council? Councilman Hammoud.
Since Councilwoman Herrick didn't bring it up, MLK Day is on January 15th, so everyone enjoy your, if you get it off, your federally labor mandated holiday. I think the city does get it off.
Yeah, we are closed at the city.
All right, yeah, so don't call us on that Monday.
Thank you, Councilman. Mayor, anything from the administration or yourself?
Myself and Fire Chief Murray and Police Chief Shaheen passed by earlier for Monsignor James Maloney, is a beloved figure in the Detroit Catholic community, and a tireless servant of the church. He passed away January 3rd, just a few days ago. And although he was largely at St. Anselm Catholic Church in Dearborn Heights, there's many members of the Dearborn family that are members of this congregation. And so to all of them who are in mourning, we just want to extend our condolences. We passed by, certainly on behalf of Dearborn, to pay our respects, a neighbor right across the street, but certainly a loss for the entire community. Just want to extend that condolences. And just to echo the sentiments of Councilman Paris with National Law Enforcement Week, we obviously support our officers each and every single day. We have great leadership, obviously, at the helm with Police Chief Shaheen, and we work with our officers day in and day out, so we thank them for what they do around the clock and for keeping us safe.
Thank you, Mayor. Mr. Clerk, anything from your department?
Yes, I'd like to update the council and our viewers tonight about early voting that's going to be happening this year. I'm going to be announcing it probably at every meeting from this point forward to make sure that the word gets out. As you know, I told you before that we had a flyer that we had sent out. That flyer should be arriving any day now to inform people that we will have early voting for 9 days for the presidential primary. That begins on February the 17th through the 25th at the Ford Community and Performing Arts Center from 9 to 5. So I've been talking to different groups. We talked to the senior group today. I'm going to be at the SOTA meeting this Thursday. Next week, we're talking to the Federation of Neighborhoods about this. And again, our job is to get the word out. We've been working with the city of Dearborn, the communications department, to make sure that the city puts it on our website and other locations. We did a CDTV spot for it today that's going to be airing probably in a week or two, just to let people know that this is very, very important. Last thing about that is we have an open house that will be here in these council chambers. Thank you for the use of the council chambers. On Monday, January 22nd, anytime between 2 and 7, people can stop in and get information about voting and also information about working, because we're going to be needing 40 to 50 people a day to work those 9 days. And so anybody that's interested in working any of those 9 days or all of those 9 days can come between that time. Again, working with communications with the city of Dearborn to get that word out as well. It's a big project. We'll handle it, but we need the help of the residents of Dearborn as well.
Well, thank you, Mr. Clerk. I know we're going to be bringing it up many times, but just, I know Councilman Paris and myself, he echoed the fact that there is still voting on election day.
Yes.
That you could go, just so we know. But for the early voting, Mr. Clerk, if you can just give them the parameters, how many days before is it? And
So, yeah, it'll be the 2 weekends before the election day, which is February 27th, plus the 5 days in between. So that's 9 days total. Saturday, Sunday, then the week of Monday through Friday, then Saturday and Sunday again.
And that's at the,
At the center, the Ford Community and Performing Arts
Ford
Center.
Community
From 9 to 5, every day will be the same thing. And also, even though it's President's Day on that Monday, the 19th, we still will be there all day, 9 to 5. for voting. So that's not a day off for anyone. You can still vote on that day.
And if I may, Mr. Clerk, can you also clarify that that's the in-person early voting? Can you clarify the absentee early voting?
Yeah, so the absentee ballots should be sent out by the end of this week, so people will be receiving those early next week. And of course, you can fill out those absentee ballot, or fill them out and get them to us, either here at the DAC, and we have a drop box, of course, in our parking lot. And thank you, Mayor, for bringing that up, because I wanted to also mention we have 4 new drop boxes that were just delivered and just installed in the 4 parks of Hemlock, Levelgood, Lapeer, and Crowley. So those will be 4 more locations where you can drop off your absentee ballots all the way up until 8 p.m. on Election Day, February 27th.
Excellent, and we know that those are fully secured for any resident that's worried about dropping them off in the parks. They are secured and monitored by state,
Yes.
by law, and so there should be no issues there. And picked up each night, thank you, Mayor.
Yeah, picked up every day.
Councilman Paris.
Thank you. Just one thing that wasn't mentioned, just to clarify though, Election Day, we don't go to the early voting place. We go actually to our precincts.
Yes, good point. Election Day is as normal on that day, but on those 9 days prior, every location, every precinct will be voting in that one location for those 9 days. And if you decide not to do it on that day, then you can obviously do it on the regular election day.
Councilman Hamud?
Yeah, just one other comment. At the committee of the whole, we were shared this from the clerk. I don't know if they can zoom in on it or not, but people will be receiving this in the mail, and I do appreciate the clerk did do a quick turnaround from last Thursday, and then this will also go out in both English and Arabic to residents so that they can get more information on early voting. So thank you for that.
Yeah, we stopped the presses. Thank you for bringing that up,
Yeah.
because they were going to go out that day. So we stopped the presses and we got it translated, and it'll be in Arabic and in English. And also, nobody mentioned this, but congratulations to the University of Michigan team for winning their 12th national championship. Yes, it was a great
No,
game.
absolutely, you're right.
Right.
It's always great.
Every day's a party in the city of Dearborn.
It's always great when you see old-fashioned football with great people, and as the coach Harborough says, a Michigan man. And last time was '97, so we will take it. It was a great game to watch. We're very proud of them, and we'll see what happens with the Lions this weekend. So go Lions as well. A lot of good sports events happening. All right. All right, so now we will turn to our next public comment section. Anyone here to address the council regarding city business, please step forward, state your name and address for the record. And just a kind reminder, you have a 3-minute limitation, which the clerk will give you a 30-second warning.
Hello, good evening, everyone. My name is Salah Ali, and I am a resident of Dearborn. I want to start off by sending my condolences to all those that passed away. I actually knew Faye Awada personally. I met her in 2005, 2006, and known her since then, and it's just sad to hear her go so soon. So just wish everyone good health and prosperity. I do want to talk about a particular ordinance, fugitive dust ordinance, that many of you all are made aware of, and I just want to say thanks to Councilman Al-Sawafi and Councilman Paris for taking the lead on this and introducing it and bringing it forth. It's been a long journey, and I've been working with the administration to do our due diligence in ensuring that the ordinance is as proactive and as enforceable as possible. It has been introduced about a month ago, and the request now is to get a study session going, which was formally submitted by Councilman Al-Sawafi. However, it seems as though the scheduling date has not been confirmed nor scheduled, and that is the responsibility of President Saraini. So I received a letter from Jacqueline, the council staff, which states, in regards to fugitive dust, this was originally brought up forward by the administration and had a first reading later to be withdrawn by the administration as it was not completed. Based on the list that we have, some of which have been waiting for quite some time, the best case estimate for the study session would be early fall of this year. That is problematic. There's no reason why we are waiting months to schedule a study session that is long overdue. So I encourage you all, most of you are on the distribution, I just want to apologize. Councilman Abraham, Councilman Hammoud, I thought I had included you guys and I missed you guys off, so I'll make sure to include you. But as a collective front, I encourage you to encourage your council president in getting a study session scheduled sooner than later, especially as you guys go into budget sessions.
You have 30 seconds.
It's going to be very difficult to get much done afterwards. So with that, I really encourage to get this going because it's long overdue, and a response to have it scheduled in fall is just not acceptable.
Okay, any other questions or comments? Any other comments or questions from the public regarding city business? You can step forward to state your name and address for the record. Okay, hearing and seeing none, I will motion to adjourn, entertain a motion adjourned by Councilman Hammoud. We are adjourned.